We are now going to learn the correct names to describe joint movements. But here's a warning. There are many names to learn, but they can be easily grouped together, much like when you learned their anatomical positions. So as I go through the list, make sure you practice the movements with me and say the names out loud so as to really anchor them into your memory. The first set of joint movements that we're going to look at are the words flexion and extension. So flexion means to make the angle smaller and extension means to make the angle bigger. So some examples are, here at the elbow, when I pull up like this is elbow flexion. We also have hip flexion, and then this would be knee flexion. Making the angles bigger or extending them out is considered extension. So elbow extension, hip extension, and the knee is already in an extended position. Hyperextension. So this is a bit more tricky to demonstrate, but examples would be elbow hyperextension, and this is where you would see the elbow actually kick up like this. Other places for hyperextension are in the knees, and you'll see that from the side when people's knees go behind them. Lateral flexion. We often use this just for the head and for the trunk. So for example, when my head goes this way, that is lateral flexion, or my torso, that is also lateral flexion. Plantar flexion and dorsiflexion are special words used to describe what happens at the feet. So when I plant my toes into the ground, that is considered plantar flexion. When I pull my toes up, that is considered dorsiflexion. The next couplet that we have is abduction and adduction. So abduction means to abduct or take away from the midline. So for example, that is shoulder abduction. To bring it back towards the midline is called adduction, to add back. Another example is at the hip, abduction, adduction. And we also have horizontal flexion and horizontal extension. So horizontal flexion, coming together, horizontal extension.